Hello, everybody. Welcome to English 1301. This is Mark Taylor, your instructor. I just want to give you a quick tour of the course site. If you've taken online classes before, most of this will look very familiar to you. But just a quick tour so no one's overlooking anything. You should come in at the announcements page, and I'll put out announcements periodically here to help keep you all focused on your next activities and um, let you know what's happening in the class. There's not much under My Alerts. I don't use the tool very much, but uh, I think when new things are posted or some assignments are coming due, or you can create your own taskbar, uh, this fills up. Most students prefer the calendar, and I think I do too. Um, Here I've got a couple of different classes all merged together, and the same thing will happen with your course site as well. Probably doesn't show up too well, but you can see your first assignments or short. You're writing 3 paragraphs. Little activity is due in this dark green at the end. If I were to click on it, it would let me go straight into it, but I don't have the instructions here on this screen, so I don't know if that'll help you. But anyway, calendar tool can be helpful, keep you organized. I know this is the second 8 weeks, so you're moving at a fast pace. Um, let's go over the schedule and syllabus real quick. I'm not going to read this to you. You can look through it yourself. That's my outside email address if you need to use that, though I do prefer that you use the course messages site, which I'll show you in just a moment, to communicate with me. That way I don't lose any messages. But if you need to see me in person, just let me know. My office is in the Success Center in the Math Hub, in one of the offices there, or you can call me at that number as well. For learning outcomes, we want to work on the research process, but we're not writing a research paper. I just want to make you familiar with a lot of the resources that we have that would help you with research and some good strategies on how to do that. Information literacy has a lot to do with finding information and integrating it into your own discussions or your own papers. And we'll go over that. Uh, we'll pay attention to your writing style. Is it appropriate for an academic audience? It may be that you've written something that makes perfect sense and is clear, but perhaps it would be more compelling or interesting if you made a few changes. Um, Maybe it's just the tone of your writing, or maybe the sentence structure could be varied a little bit to make it easier to read or more interesting to read. And I'll be paying attention to that, and you'll be paying attention to that in your classes. The focus of the class, the textbook itself, gives you a lot of reading examples, and pay attention to those reading assignments. Um, Most writers learn the most by looking at the writing of other people. Reading is really a key to becoming a good writer. Um, Thinking critically about those texts is kind of the next thing we're looking at. You're looking at not only the arguments or the positions that they're making, but also how effective uh, the work was, and what strategies they used to help make it effective. And of course, we want to have some good grammar and follow standard American English. Um, uh, Most students are fairly good at that by the time they get to college writing, but occasionally there's a persistent problem like comma splices or run-on sentences, and if I identify those, I'll bring those to your attention as well. These are the 2 books that you need for the course. Back to the Lake is where most of the structure of the course will come from, and most of the writing assignments will come from. Little Brown Handbook, the brief edition, is a wonderful resource for you to hang on to through your whole academic career for all your writing assignments. It not only gives you tips on how to write well, and I'll try to point some of those out as we go along, but it also gives you tips on how to format your essays in MLA style, how to document your sources. Those of you that are in disciplines that use APA style, that's also in that handbook, as well as Chicago style, though it's a little briefer. Um, but it's a wonderful reference for you to hang on to. Um, some students ask me if they have an older edition, will it be okay? You can cripple through the class with an older edition, but I would get the newest edition if at all possible. Um, and of course, hang on to your files just in case. Computers crash, those kind of things. Um, a word about assignments. I have due dates on everything. I do realize that you're working at kind of a fast pace in the second 8 weeks. So if there's something that comes up that just makes it impossible for you to turn something in on time, if you alert me ahead of time, I can generally work with that. But if you contact me, a week after assignments due, um, I'm going to be kind of less understanding here. Here's a course schedule, broken down week by week, what you should be working on and what's due. Um, that's also printed outside as a separate file. I would print that off and put it in your textbook just to have a quick reference to. Um, at least I find that convenient for myself. We have a number of activities. There's a small visual rhetoric assignment. We'll be looking at images and analyzing them, perhaps finding some images. I'm still working on that assignment, but it'll be about 5% of your grade. And then an oral presentation. Now, this isn't something where you come on campus and do an oral presentation. I'll give you several options on how to complete this assignment. One option is that you record your talking head explaining the topic that you are presenting, the topic that you choose. Another option might be a PowerPoint presentation where you're including some voice over the slides. And if you're just technophobic and don't want to do either of those things, I'll have a written assignment as an alternative as well. But I would like as many students as possible to do some sort of oral presentation, either with a slideshow or just the talking head, because that's one of the learning outcomes that we'll be looking at. And there'll be tips in your textbook that'll help with that. But don't stress over that. You'll get it done. We have 5 units. There's an essay in each unit. What I'll ask is I'll have a short writing assignment that you'll enter in a writing journal online in Blackboard. The ideal is to do some critical or close reading of some of the texts that you read. Hopefully that activity will contribute somewhat to your brainstorming processes to come up with your rough draft. Anyway, that's 3 points for each unit, so 3 times 5 is 15. Rough drafts, there are another 3 points. I want you to turn in a rough draft before you turn in a final draft. We're emphasizing the writing process, and by rough draft, I want something pretty close to complete, a real beginning, middle, and end. If you're integrating a source from our textbook, if the assignment calls for that, that you've made a stab at that, so I can get a sense of how close you are to getting a really nice complete draft. And then like a few days later, your final draft will be due. And there's 5 of those at 10 points each. You've got some lab activities. These are will have different focuses throughout this semester, but I want this to be something where we can work as a group on. I'm thinking that'll make the process a little faster. There'll be activities where you will collaborate with the whole class perhaps, or maybe in smaller groups, or you'll compare your responses to the responses of others. But there are 5 of those peppered through the course. just little short activities, more or less related to your writing assignments, but not always, but for the most part they are for that particular unit. Um, Attendance, this is an online class and you're expected to log on frequently um, to see if someone's posted something or I think you'll end up logging on frequently anyway because there's always something that needs to be turned in, some short assignment that needs to be submitted. Um, but that's always a good idea. Um, Academic integrity. We are very careful about plagiarism. We want to make sure all your work is your work. And part of the content of this course is to make sure you know how to document sources that you integrate into your own writing and discussion. So it's clear to your audience that the ideas come from another source and will be part of this course. So we hope that you've mastered that technique by the middle of the course, hopefully. That's pretty much it for that. Let me back up or back out. Oh, there's a whole new slide. Never mind.